Hey guys, welcome back to another Transformation Tuesday. And today we're working from the Success and Abundance Affirmations Journal workbook. And this is to align with Wealthy You workshop coming up on May the 14th. Visit the website at carriewinchellLPC.com to register for that small group. But the core belief today, the ideal thought that we're working with is I am a good manager of my wealth. I am a good manager of my wealth. And let's jump into the reflection prompts, the journaling prompts. So the first one, what key lesson or lessons have you learned from the past about how you manage money? What key lessons have you learned from the past about how you manage money? And I think the awesome thing with life is that we're always learning. If you're putting yourself in that learning zone, if you're putting yourself in situations to actually learn, we're always learning. And you know, I think that there's some lessons that we can just learn it. We can just learn it and be done with learning it. And then there's some lessons that we're continuing to learn, maybe until the day we die. And we're learning it on different levels. And money might be one of them for some people. And as you look back and you reflect and you think about what the key lessons for you, what those lessons are as it pertains to how you manage money, you might see different things, right? You might see a number of things. And I think it's so important to set realistic expectations for how we learn. I think sometimes we end up feeling bad and feeling down on ourselves because we might find ourselves in learning the same situation we might find ourselves in the same situation having to learn the same lesson a number of times. And a way to conceptualize this is that maybe you're going to be presented with the same lesson in a similar situation or in a totally different situation, but the lesson is the same. The lesson that you need to learn is going to be the same regardless of the externally what it looks like. And maybe you're on your third round with this lesson, and maybe you haven't completely mastered what you needed to learn. But the truth is, when you reflect and you look back at the previous situation and the time before that, maybe you haven't mastered the lesson yet, but you're making progress. Maybe you're doing something better than you did in the past. And you need to give yourself some credit for that. Because maybe, you haven't mastered the lesson, but you're learning. You're in the learning zone. And with each experience, you're getting better and better. So that's just something to think about. I know sometimes maybe we're working on being a good manager of our wealth in terms of how we save. And maybe there's times in life that you have to dip into your savings. And maybe you do have a history of dipping into your savings. But the truth is that you're saving for something, right? And it's a good thing. That's a good resource to have. That's a good a good masculine structure as well to fall back on, to know that your savings is there, because it's there to help you if you need it, if you need a way out of something. And so maybe for you, your lesson is that maybe it's not realistic for you to ever think, I won't ever dip into my savings, right? That's unrealistic. But maybe if you have a history of dipping into your savings monthly and you see that 3 months have gone by and you haven't dipped into it, then that's progress. That's progress for you. All right, so just kind of look at how you conceptualize learning your lessons, and if you're setting expectations for you to totally get it the next time around. but maybe you won't totally get it the next time around, but maybe you would have made progress. The second prompt is going to be, how have you practiced this lesson? Okay, so now let's say you've mastered the lesson, or you're 90 to 95% in your progress of it. So are you being consistent? Are you practicing what you're learning? Because it's one thing to learn something and to know it, but true wisdom comes from applying, how you apply knowledge, the application of knowledge. So sometimes I think another, maybe even a core belief that some people might have, is that if you know better, you're going to do better. And that's not necessarily true, because a lot of people know, they know the right thing for them. They know better. But if you haven't been practicing better, then you're still stuck in old patterns and old behaviors. So we like to collect information. We like to sometimes know the things, but just having the knowledge doesn't necessarily mean that something is going to change. And so if you know that you need to work on the way you spend, or you need to create better financial practices, you can know that till the day you die. But if you're not practicing what you know, then are you really being a good manager of your wealth? Are you really putting what the things that you know, are you really putting it into practice? And putting it into practice is actually the lesson. Knowing something doesn't mean you went to class per se. Knowing something doesn't necessarily mean that there's a lesson that you're applying yourself to. It could just be information. And information by itself is neutral. So what you do with the information, that makes a big difference. So asking yourself, how have you practiced this lesson, right? Sometimes, as I said, we find ourselves in the same situations over and over, and they might have different looks, but it's the same lesson that you need to learn. And if you're in the same situation over and over, you probably have knowledge. You have knowledge about the situation. And maybe now it's time for you to figure out how to apply the knowledge and how to practice the knowledge. So that's it for today's Transformation Tuesday. I hope that these Transformation Tuesdays, that you are getting value from it. I feel like for me, just what this is teaching me is consistency. And I need, that's a lesson for me that I need. I know I need to be consistent, but Transformation Tuesday is giving me an avenue to be able to practice consistency, to practice this lesson. All right, so if you haven't signed up for Wealthy You, this is going to be the second and the last small group for the spring. So try to register, and I would love to have you there. Again, registration information is at www.carriewinchellLPC.com, and you can check the description box for the link as well. Thank you for stopping by, and I will catch up with you guys later.